On this episode, I have one of the contributors to the Navy Seal Specwar Combat Fighting Course, Mr. Frank Dux. Welcome. I'm Matt, guys, and today I have Frank Dux, the father of mixed martial arts. Frank, you've been doing martial arts for how many years?
50 years.
50 years. Frank has done so much for the martial art community, but some of the biggest questions is how'd you get started?
It caught my interest when I was at a library. It was actually at the North Hollywood Library, and I happened across a book by Bruce Tegner, and he was showing techniques, and that interested me. And then later on, because my family was rather impoverished, I couldn't afford cleats. I couldn't afford the deposits for, uniform tops, things like that to participate in sports. But I noticed that you could go take martial art lessons, did everything barefooted. So that kind of pushed me in that direction.
That's amazing. And then one of the things that you're also known for, besides just the movie Bloodsport and all the accomplishments you have in martial arts, but you were self-taught as well, aren't you?
Yes, I have to give a lot of credit to Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee said, do what is useful. He said, get away from the classical mess. And he was self-taught. People don't realize it, but Bruce Lee only spent 5 years of formal training. That was it. And that inspired me. And so I started, learning. I would go on Lancashire Boulevard, not too far from where we were having this interview. There was a gentleman by the name of Bill Riyosaki, and he was actually a sidekick of Bruce Lee. You could see Bruce Lee actually in his school. He was also a teacher to professional karate champions, kickboxing champions. So I would go there, and to make a long story short, I would just basically go to the Chinese restaurant next door. I would work there and clean up their store. They would give me the cleaning supplies. I would clean up in front of Bill's school and wash his windows. Not any different than you see kids on the corner in Mexico washing windows to earn a couple of bucks to eat. I did the same thing, but instead of getting money that I would use for food, I was really using my payment was him opening those blinds and me being able to look inside, and Bill Riyosaki would kind of look at what I was doing on the outside and go, no, put, more like this, hand more like this. And I was learning that way.
Also, from the many years that you've been fighting and all the knowledge you have, you've created Dux Ryu, your own style of martial arts.
Well, yeah, it's really funny. I created it. It's when you have Ryu, it's also a form of Budo. Martial arts is really Budo. So I didn't want to mislead people and say I was doing some 16th century, 18th century system when I was teaching. And so the best thing I could do is use my name. So it means flow from Dux, flow from me. That's exactly what I was teaching. That's what I was selling people lessons in. This is what I learned. This is what I know. And I wasn't being pretentious about it. A lot of young men that I've trained along the way go off to war, have gone off to war, and the skill sets I've given them based on that has made a difference whether they came home or not. So much so catching the attention of the U.S. Navy SEALs to the point that I'm one of the sole named contributors in writing their combat fighting course manual.
Frank, one of the things that you've talked to me in the walk over here was about the triangle of force, and that what every athlete or every martial artist needs to know that. What is the triangle of force?
Triangle of force is really the space between our shoulders and our hands, if we're talking upper quadrant fighting. What happens is inside your triangle of force this is not my triangle of force on you, believe it or not.
Okay.
Because I can throw a punch here and here, can I hit you? No. And this is the biggest mistake people do when they train. They'll be out here and they'll and they're doing scenario training. No, you got to be in here. You got to get your mind to where you're within the range of really driving that punch and making contact. And then all of a sudden you say, wait a minute, I'm a little too short here. Maybe it's right here. Yeah, there it is. You see my point? Mm-hmm. And so it's knowing how to match it. And you want to dominate the center line. That's what a lot of your Chinese styles Wing Chun. It's all about dominating the center line, which is part of the triangle force. So a good example of that is, let's say, just the old-fashioned right haymaker. You're going to come and hit me in the chest. Now, by just turning my axis of my body, you see what happened to that punch?
Right.
Okay, what's happening here is this is your triangle. When you're turning that punch into me, there's your triangle. If I move here, what happens?
You're out of my triangle.
But you're in what?
Yours.
You're in mine. One of my students, Joey Holt, this is why he was able to execute a world record, a 1 second knockout in this competition, because what happens is the guy comes out with that big haymaker, boom, Joey steps in here, catches him here, and the guy literally spun and fell in front of him here. That's that fast. That's how quick it is. Because what you're doing is now you're not training to see the punch. You're always keeping a mind of where that triangle is, and that's how you can take apart an opponent. You start doing it scientifically. So now I'm thinking totally different. Well, when you start thinking this way, what I found out is I was actually bypassing the amygdala and the brain. That's where it causes hesitancy. So one of the things you can learn and make it autonomic is, what do? You always shake hands, right?
Right.
Okay, so now we're in a triangle of force here.
Okay.
Even, right?
Right.
So whenever I try to train, to always put myself at an advantage, I train my mind to whenever I'm in this spot, I never want to be there.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to shake my hand, I'm here always with you.
Hi. Which makes a lot more sense than the parking lot. I'm just saying, you
know what I mean?
on an angle, yeah.
You see, but I'm constantly reinforcing it for myself that way. But it's easier to work, and it's like dancing. You can actually flow with the person, and you become more sensitive to what's going around. You can perceive if somebody's a threat or not a threat.
Now, part of all the things that you create, you've created your own martial art. You've conquered the world as far as martial artists, and you've done so much for everybody.
Thank you.
You're now doing an app, right? Among many things, I know there's some things you can't talk about, but some things that the app that you are creating, what is that about? And tell me about it.
I have a thing called DuxMatchup.com. The Dux Matchup is, I've gone to travel all over the world. I see tremendous talent. And so Dux Matchup is a means for promoters and as fighters to kind of meet. It also allows, if you're just a regular martial artist and you want to find a good school, or you want to find just a training partner. If you're an up-and-comer, the hardest part of training sometimes is finding a good sparring partner, or a variety of sparring partners. So you're dealing with a different element. You're starting to grow. And so this app allows people to network and find each other and grow as human beings and give everyone an equal opportunity to be seen.
I'm all for that, because I would love to see what you can bring from Mexico or any other country. I'm sure there's amazing guys down there. We're at the House of Champions with the true champion, Frank Dux, the champion, Frank Dux. Thank you very much, and it's another episode of Punk'd.